she is married says you are different, and you believe you are the exception. You are not weak or naive. You are a grown man who fell into a pattern that rewards you one night and starves you the next. The secret chats, the lunch breaks, the "I wish we had met sooner" messages feel electric. Then come the cancellations, the holidays alone, the careful lies you tell yourself so you can sleep. You call it complicated. Your nervous system calls it a loop. Here is the shift. This is not a love story. It is a dopamine economy built on scarcity, secrecy, and risk. If you keep treating it like destiny, you will keep losing time, dignity, and peace. If you treat it like an addiction, you can break it. Stay with me. In the next minutes, I will show you why she chose you, but does not leave him the stories she tells to keep you hooked. The slot machine psychology that keeps you checking your phone, and the red flags that predict the ending. You will learn the only clean exit, how to rebuild your frame, and how to choose women who are actually available without losing the charge you crave. You will leave with clarity, not confusion, and a plan that protects your integrity while freeing you from the cycle for good. Let's get into it. Number 1. The illusion every man falls for. Every man who's ever been involved with a married woman starts from the same illusion. This one is different. She tells you she's unhappy, that her marriage has been dead for years, that you make her feel alive again. And you believe it not because you're foolish, but because it feels real. The conversations are deep, the connection feels rare, and the chemistry, it's like nothing you've experienced in years. But what you're feeling isn't love. It's addiction, disguised as intimacy. Let's make it real. Greg, 58, a retired firefighter from Texas, met Melissa, 51, at a gym. She was married, open about her rough marriage, and the first time they talked, she said, "I can finally breathe when I'm around you." That line hooked him. It hit the exact part of him that wanted to feel needed again. For months, they met in secret, stolen hours, private messages, hidden weekends. Greg felt like he'd rediscovered his youth, but what he didn't realize was that every thrill was just feeding a chemical cycle, dopamine spikes, followed by withdrawals like a drug. The human brain doesn't distinguish between love and addiction when it comes to reward and risk. The same chemicals that drive romantic excitement also drive gambling, alcohol, and thrill-seeking. That's why forbidden relationships feel more powerful. Scarcity intensifies desire. Every time she cancels plans, every time you wait for her call, every time you think, maybe this time, your brain gets trapped in intermittent reinforcement, the strongest psychological hook known to man. And here's the catch, she's trapped too, but in a different way. She's addicted to validation. You're her emotional escape from the boredom and responsibility of her marriage. You make her feel seen again, but she's not free to love you fully, and she never will be. What you share isn't freedom. It's confinement dressed as passion. You're both prisoners in the same fantasy, calling it love, while it quietly consumes your peace. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You become what you give your attention to." And that's exactly what happens here. The more you focus on her, her texts, her excuses, her promises, the smaller your world becomes. You stop noticing the women who are actually available, the opportunities that require honesty, and the life that's waiting outside the fantasy. Greg's story followed the same pattern every man faces in this trap. Eventually, Melissa said, "I can't keep living two lives. I need space." It wasn't cruel, it was inevitable. She didn't choose her husband because he was better. She chose him because it was easier. Greg spent months replaying their conversations, wondering what he could have done differently. The truth, nothing. The relationship was never built to last. It was built to burn. The illusion every man falls for is that intensity equals destiny. It doesn't. Real connection is calm, honest, and consistent, not stolen, frantic, and hidden. What you mistake for chemistry is often just chaos dressed up as excitement. So here's the first Stoic truth to remember. Desire without discipline becomes destruction. When you start believing that her love is your salvation, you've already lost your freedom. If you've ever felt that impossible pull, the thrill mixed with guilt, know this: you're not weak, you're just human. But it's time to see the illusion for what it is, a mirage that fades the moment you stop chasing it. Because the second you stop believing you're the exception, you finally start to see the truth. Number 2. Why she chooses you but never leaves him. Here's the brutal truth most men refuse to face. She chose you because you give her something her husband can't, but she'll never leave him because he gives her something you won't. You are her escape, not her future. You represent freedom, passion, and emotional connection. He represents safety, stability, and identity. Between the two of you, she feels complete, and that's exactly why she won't choose one. When she's with you, she feels alive. You listen, you notice her, you make her laugh. You bring back the version of herself she thought was gone, the woman who still turns heads, who still feels wanted. But when she goes home, she steps back into the comfort of her world, the house, the routine, the predictable familiarity of her life. She's not in love with either man. She's in love with what both of you give her, a balance between excitement and security. And here's what hurts: she doesn't plan this consciously. She's not scheming to hurt you. She's surviving. Her marriage gives her structure. You give her escape. Both are addictive. Both keep her from growing. She knows the relationship with you can't exist in the open, but she also knows she's not strong enough to walk away. So she floats in between long enough for you to hope, short enough for her to never have to decide. You keep telling yourself she'll leave when the time is right. But the time is never right. There's always a reason: her kids, her reputation, her husband's health, the holidays. Every excuse is a stall tactic dressed as sensitivity. You interpret her tears as love, her apologies as commitment, her hesitation as conflict. But what it really is fear. Epictetus once said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." And that applies here. She believes she already knows love, the dramatic kind, the kind filled with guilt and secrecy. But that isn't love. It's emotional chaos. And if you believe that her pain equals depth, you're learning the same lesson she refuses to face. What she won't tell you is that she needs both of you to avoid herself. You mirror her passion, he mirrors her comfort. But the moment she loses one, she must face what's missing within, and that's exactly what she fears most. You can't rescue her from that. The Stoic man knows that peace doesn't come from fixing others, it comes from choosing clarity over illusion. The moment you stop trying to win her, you regain yourself. Now let me ask you, have you ever been in something that felt real but deep down you knew it couldn't last? If you have, drop this in the comments, I see it now. And stay with me, because what comes next isn't about her anymore. It's about you. About how the stories she tells can trap even the strongest men in a cycle they can't see until it's too late. This next part will open your eyes to just how deep that cycle runs. Number 3. The stories she tells to keep you hooked. Every affair begins with a story, and every story has a purpose. The married woman doesn't just tell you about her life. She frames it in a way that keeps you emotionally invested. She creates a version of reality where she's the victim, you're the savior, and the world just doesn't understand the connection you two have. But underneath all of it is one goal: to keep you hooked long enough for her to avoid facing herself. Let's take an example. David, 57, from Chicago, met Rachel, 52, at a professional conference. Married for 25 years, she said her husband hadn't looked at her in ages. She told David he made her feel seen again. That line hit him hard, because at that stage in his life he also felt invisible. For months, Rachel's stories poured out: the loveless marriage, the ungrateful husband, the kids who'd never understand. David believed every word. He felt like he'd found a woman who just needed the right man to finally be happy. But months turned into years. Every time he asked her to take a step forward, there was another reason why she couldn't. There was always a bad time, a family situation, just one more thing to fix. What he didn't realize was that her stories weren't progress, they were protection. Each new reason kept him emotionally close but practically distant. This is how it works. She builds 3 powerful stories that trap men every time. The victim story, where she's misunderstood, unappreciated, or unloved. The fate story, where your connection feels cosmic, meant to be against the odds. And the future story, where she swears things will change, but not yet. Each story gives you just enough hope to stay, and just enough pain to make you chase relief. It's a cycle: reward, withdrawal, repeat. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you keep believing her stories, you start dyeing your own soul with her narrative. You begin to see the world through her pain. Her husband becomes the villain, her lies become justifications, and her contradictions become emotional complexity. But the truth is simpler. She's not evil, she's trapped in her own guilt. And she keeps you around so she doesn't have to face it alone. David eventually realized that Rachel's confessions weren't intimacy, they were manipulation wrapped in vulnerability. She wasn't opening up, she was rehearsing excuses. And the more he tried to understand her, the deeper he sank into the role she'd written for him, the man who listens, waits, and forgives. Here's what every man needs to remember. When someone's story always makes them the victim, it's not a confession, it's a performance. You become her emotional mirror, reflecting back the version of herself she wants to believe. And as long as you stay in that role, she doesn't have to grow, and you don't get to leave. So here's the Stoic truth: compassion without clarity turns into self-betrayal. You can care about her pain, but you can't let it rewrite your values. You can love her story, but you must never lose sight of the facts. Now, if you've ever been that man, the one who believed every someday, comment this: "I know that story." And don't go anywhere, because what comes next will expose how that illusion turns against you, how the same stories that kept you close start breaking you from the inside out. Number 4. The dangerous high you mistake for love. There's a reason why being with a married woman feels more intense than anything you've ever experienced. And it's not because the connection is deeper, it's because you're high. Not on drugs, not on alcohol, but on a chemical loop of risk, scarcity, and reward. What you call love is often just dopamine dressed up as destiny. Every secret text, every moment you're waiting for her reply, every time she whispers, "I shouldn't be doing this," it spikes your brain's reward system. You start craving her the way an addict craves a fix. The more forbidden it feels, the stronger the rush. That intensity tricks your mind into thinking this must be real. But it's not real love. It's a biochemical illusion designed to keep you chasing what you can't fully have. You're not addicted to her, you're addicted to the uncertainty. The will she or won't she moments. The highs when she's affectionate, and the lows when she disappears. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, the same mechanism that keeps gamblers pulling levers long after they've lost everything. When the reward is unpredictable, it becomes irresistible, and that's why you can't let go. From a Stoic lens, this isn't new. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." What he meant is that the mind amplifies what it cannot control. The anticipation, the fantasy, the waiting, all of it becomes bigger than the experience itself. You're not suffering from love. You're suffering from your imagination of what love could be if only the circumstances were different. And that's the trap. The forbidden nature of the affair doesn't make it deeper, it makes it louder. It's adrenaline mixed with guilt, lust mixed with danger. But just like any high, it demands a crash. The same chemistry that makes you feel alive now will make you feel empty later. You'll go from obsession to exhaustion, from passion to regret. And in that fall, you'll realize what every man eventually does. It wasn't her presence that filled you. It was the chase. The Stoic way to break this cycle is through awareness. You can't control the chemical rush, but you can stop feeding it. Every time you check your phone, imagine the dopamine hit for what it is, a chemical bribe keeping you from your own peace. The moment you see it clearly, you take back control. You stop letting emotion dictate your value. Here's the truth. Real love doesn't leave you restless. It doesn't demand hiding or guilt or constant validation. It doesn't make your chest tighten every time she says, "I can't talk right now." Real love brings stillness, not anxiety. And if you're ready to start living from that stillness, to rebuild your strength, your clarity, and your self-respect, then it's time to go deeper. Inside the private membership, we break down Stoic practices for emotional discipline, detachment, and masculine leadership. You'll learn how to rewire your patterns, stop chasing emotional highs, and start attracting women who meet you on your level openly and honestly. The link is in the description, because once you understand that the high isn't love, you stop mistaking chaos for connection. You stop chasing chemistry and start valuing peace. If you've ever felt that surge, that thrill you thought meant love, drop this in the comments. I felt that. And stay tuned, because next we'll uncover a truth that most men never dare to face: what's really happening inside her marriage while she's telling you it's over. Number 5. The brutal truth about her marriage. Here's what most men in your position never want to admit: her marriage isn't dead. It's just not what she tells you it is. She'll paint it as cold, loveless, and disconnected, but in reality it's far more complicated. She still shares a home, a life, and yes, often a bed with her husband. That's not because she's cruel or heartless. It's because she's learned to survive inside a marriage that gives her structure, even while it drains her soul. Let's bring this to life. Robert, 61, from Florida, met Angela, 56, at a local golf club. She told him she and her husband hadn't been intimate in years. That line felt like an invitation. It justified every late-night text, every quiet coffee, every kiss in parking lots. It made Robert feel like he wasn't doing anything wrong. But what he didn't know was that Angela's dead marriage was still alive behind closed doors. She still slept beside her husband, still attended events, as a couple still wore the ring. The moment Robert found out, it shattered him. Not because he didn't expect it, but because he finally realized he'd been living inside her narrative, not her reality. That's the brutal truth most men can't face. A woman who cheats rarely abandons her entire life. Her husband might not be abusive, detached, or cruel. He might even suspect something and silently accept it. Sometimes he's relieved. Sometimes he's indifferent. But in many cases, he's still there, emotionally or physically. And that means you're not replacing him. You're existing alongside him. She's not choosing between you and him. She's managing both. With you, she feels excitement, validation, and emotional connection. With him, she feels stability, predictability, and identity. Those two worlds conflict, but they coexist. And until you see that clearly, you'll keep believing that every fight they have, every cold moment she shares with you, is progress. It's not. It's maintenance. It's how she keeps the illusion alive. The Stoics taught that truth, no matter how painful, is the only ground worth standing on. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." She's doing both, acting against what's right and speaking against what's true. And you, by staying, start doing the same. That's how your integrity erodes, slowly, quietly, piece by piece. When you believe her version of the marriage, you start accepting half-truths as full reality. You tell yourself, they're basically done, or it's just a technicality. But deep down, you know she's still there. Still cooking dinner with him, still sharing holidays, still living a double life. And every time you justify it, you lose a little more of yourself. Robert learned this the hard way. One night he called Angela while she was home. Her husband picked up. The silence on the other end said everything. The next day she apologized, cried, and said it was complicated. But in that moment, Robert finally saw the truth. He'd been competing with a marriage that wasn't broken. It was just redefined. So here's what you need to understand. If she's truly unhappy, she'll leave. If she hasn't, it's because her comfort still outweighs her conviction. And that means you're not her freedom, you're her distraction. If you've ever realized that the story you were told didn't match the life she was living, comment this, "I see through it." And keep watching, because next we'll talk about something even harder to face. The red flags you keep ignoring, and how they slowly turn you into a version of yourself you no longer recognize. Number 6. The red flags you keep ignoring. By the time you reach this point, the warning signs are already there. You just don't want to see them. The mind has an incredible ability to filter out what threatens its comfort. You know something feels off, but you rationalize it. You excuse it. You call it complicated. But deep down, your instincts are screaming, and you've been silencing them. Let's be clear. Red flags in this kind of relationship don't wave wildly. They whisper. They appear in the small inconsistencies, the delayed replies, the sudden guilt trips, the way she disappears on weekends and reappears Monday morning like nothing happened. You tell yourself it's just the situation. You tell yourself she's being careful. But you're not protecting her, you're protecting your own denial. One of the biggest red flags is emotional control. She decides when to connect, when to vanish, when to share affection. You live in reaction. When she reaches out, you feel elated. When she pulls away, you feel empty. That imbalance is not love, it's conditioning. She doesn't even have to manipulate you consciously. The situation itself does it. You're trapped in a cycle of waiting for permission to feel wanted. Another red flag is her language. Pay attention to how she frames the relationship. She uses words like, "I can't right now, you know my situation," or "I wish things were different." None of those phrases promise action. They just maintain tension. They keep your hope alive while giving her space to avoid accountability. You hear "not yet" and translate it into soon, but soon never comes. Then there's the biggest one, your silence with yourself. You stop talking honestly about what's happening because the truth hurts. You don't tell your friends, you hide it from family, and you convince yourself that secrecy equals maturity. But hiding is never a sign of strength. It's a sign of shame. The more secretive you become, the more you depend on her for validation. And that's how emotional isolation begins. Marcus Aurelius said, "If anyone can show me my error, I will gladly change. For I seek the truth which never harmed anyone." The Stoics understood something powerful: denial harms far more than truth ever could. Every time you justify a red flag, you're choosing temporary comfort over long-term clarity. And the longer you stay blind, the more painful the awakening becomes. The truth is, every red flag you ignore today becomes a regret tomorrow. The missed calls you explain away. The holidays she can't escape. The sudden mood swings when you bring up the future. These are not random. They are signs that you're in a story that doesn't end well, and the only reason it continues is because you keep pretending it's love. Here's what Stoic discipline demands from you: brutal honesty with yourself. You don't need to confront her yet, you need to confront you. Ask yourself, what am I choosing not to see? The moment you answer that question truthfully, you reclaim your power. So, if you've ever caught yourself ignoring the obvious because your heart didn't want to lose the fantasy, write this in the comments: "I see the signs." And don't turn away now, because in the next part we're going to talk about the moment when all those ignored warnings start to cost you something bigger: your peace, your identity, and your ability to love again. You'll see how the fantasy begins to break you from the inside out, and what it takes to stop it before it does. Number 7. When the fantasy starts to break you. Every man thinks he can handle it until the fantasy begins to crack. At first it feels manageable. You tell yourself you're in control, that you can keep emotions separate, that you know what this is. But there comes a moment when reality hits you like a freight train. The thrill that once made you feel alive starts to eat away at you quietly, piece by piece. Take Mark, 56, from California. He met Julia, 51, at a charity event. Married, elegant, confident, she made him feel like a man again. For the first few months it was perfect. Every message, every stolen glance, every secret night was electricity. He thought he'd found something rare, something real. But slowly things changed. The anxiety crept in. Julia would disappear for days, saying she had to be careful. Holidays became torture. Birthdays passed with silence. Mark started checking his phone every few minutes, waking up at night to scroll through old texts. The same passion that once lifted him was now destroying his peace. That's what happens when the fantasy turns on you. The rush fades and what's left is obsession, an emotional hangover that won't go away. You start living between two worlds, the one where she exists and the one where you wait for her. You can't fully live in either. You're physically present at work, with friends, with family, but mentally, you're elsewhere. You've built a world around a woman who only visits. And the longer it continues, the more it reshapes you. You stop trusting easily. You grow restless when life feels calm. You crave intensity, even if it hurts. That's the moment the fantasy starts breaking you, when you begin mistaking pain for depth, chaos for meaning. It's no longer about her. It's about what you've become, trying to keep her. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind." When all you think about is her, her messages, her choices, you surrender control of your mind to someone who doesn't even belong to you. The Stoics warned against this kind of attachment because it weakens your character. You lose the very thing that made her attracted to you in the first place, your calm, your strength, your independence. Mark eventually reached his breaking point. One night after another unanswered call, he stared at his phone for hours. Before realizing something painful, she wasn't destroying him. He was destroying himself by refusing to accept reality. That was the moment he began to let go. It wasn't dramatic, no angry texts, no big goodbye. Just silence. And for the first time in years, peace. That's the truth most men miss. Letting go isn't losing. It's reclaiming. It's choosing clarity over illusion and freedom over fantasy. Because every day you stay stuck in something that can't exist in daylight, you're training your soul to live in the dark. If you've ever reached that point, when the high turned to hurt, write this in the comments, "I remember that pain." And keep watching, because next we're stepping deeper into the aftermath. Not what happens between you and her, but what happens around you. The silent damage this kind of relationship leaves on families, friendships, and your own moral compass. It's the part no one talks about, but it's the one that matters most. Number 8. The ripple damage no one talks about. Every secret leaves a trail. You may think what's happening between you and her stays hidden, that it's your private world, something apart from everyone else. But it never is. The damage ripples outward quietly, relentlessly touching people who don't even know what's going on. Affairs don't just break hearts, they distort entire ecosystems of trust. You might tell yourself that her husband deserves it, that her marriage was already over, that no one is really getting hurt. But deep down, you know that's not true. Someone always feels it, maybe not today, but eventually. Her husband senses it in small ways, the sudden distance, the half-truths, the unspoken tension. He may not know what's wrong, but he feels it. And that's the cruelest part, to live every day with a quiet suspicion that something precious is slipping away, but not knowing why. Then there are her kids. They might not see the messages or overhear the calls, but they sense the shift in her energy. Kids always do. The warmth changes. The focus changes. They can't name it, but they feel the absence. And one day they'll grow up learning the wrong lesson, that love and secrecy can coexist. That betrayal is just part of adult life. That is how generational damage begins. And you're not untouched by it either. You tell yourself you're in control, that you're not responsible for the collateral. But the truth is, Every lie told to protect the affair shapes you. You start lying by instinct to your friends, to your co-workers, to yourself. The man who once valued integrity starts choosing convenience over honesty. You stop recognizing your reflection. Seneca once wrote, "No man can live happily who regards himself alone. He must live for his neighbor too." The Stoics believed that personal peace and moral integrity are inseparable. One cannot exist without the other. When you participate in deceit, even for what feels like love, your soul bears the weight of it. It's not punishment, it's consequence. That's why this kind of relationship feels heavier over time. It's not just the secrecy, it's the slow erosion of your values. Every time you hide, every time you justify, every time you pretend it's not wrong, you carry another layer of guilt. You start to withdraw from honest people because they remind you of who you used to be. You isolate not because she demands it, but because the truth does, and she feels it too. The guilt you both try to suppress finds its way into every conversation. The tension builds, the joy fades. What once felt like passion now feels like burden. Because you can't build something lasting on the pain of others, not without it eventually turning on you. Here's the Stoic lesson. You can't control the ripple once it's made, but you can control whether you keep throwing stones. The moment you stop pretending the damage is invisible, you take responsibility. You can't undo what's done, but you can choose not to add to it. If you've ever felt that weight, that sense that your choices affected more lives than you meant them to, write this in the comments. I take responsibility. And don't go anywhere, because next we'll talk about what happens when it all finally ends, the fallout, the withdrawal, and the painful truth about what it really means to let go. This is where the real test of your strength begins. Number 9. The only way out: total severance. Every man in this situation believes there's a graceful way to end it, a soft landing, a conversation that brings closure, a final goodbye that feels respectful. But that illusion is exactly what keeps you stuck. There is no gentle exit from an affair. The only way out is total severance. Clean, cold, absolute. Anything less keeps the wound open. Let's make this real. Thomas, 58, from Arizona, had been seeing Claire, 54, for nearly 2 years. She told him she was unhappy, promised she was working on leaving her husband, and even talked about a future together. But every time he tried to pull away, she pulled him back in a text late at night. A memory shared, a promise that things will change soon. When Thomas finally decided to end it, he thought he could handle one last talk just to find closure. That talk turned into dinner, then a night together, then another 6 months of pretending. It wasn't until he blocked her number, deleted every message, and stopped checking her social media that he actually began to breathe again. That's what total severance looks like. No contact, no curiosity, no compromise. Because every time you check in, every time you wonder how she's doing, you reopen the loop that kept you trapped. You can't heal in the same place that broke you. And you can't rebuild your integrity while still living in the shadow of deception. The hardest part is that your mind will fight you. It will tell you she needs closure. It will tell you she deserves an explanation. But she doesn't need more words. She needs space to face the consequences of her own choices. And so do you. The Stoics would call this discipline of will, the ability to act according to what's right, not what feels good. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." That's your path here. You can't control her marriage, her emotions, or her decisions, but you can control your boundaries. And the moment you choose silence over sentiment, you reclaim your freedom. There's one more truth. Most men avoid withdrawal will hurt. You will miss her not because she's the one, but because she filled a space you hadn't filled yourself. The emptiness you feel isn't her absence. It's the silence where the chaos used to live. You'll want to fix it, reach out, make it stop. But that pain is your detox. It's your system resetting after months, maybe years of emotional dependency. Thomas said something powerful after 6 months of silence. The day I stopped trying to understand her was the day I started understanding myself. That's what severance gives you: clarity. You stop measuring your worth through her attention and start rebuilding it from within. You owe it to yourself to end this with dignity. No texting, no checking, no hoping. She made her choices. Now it's time for you to make yours. If you've ever had to cut something off completely just to survive, comment this: I'm choosing peace. And stay with me, because in the final part we're going to talk about what happens after the silence. How to rebuild your sense of self, your strength, and your values once you've walked away from the chaos for good. That's where the real healing begins. Number 10. Reclaiming yourself after the fall. There comes a moment when the silence after the affair is louder than the noise that came before it. No messages, no lies to manage, no secret rush, just emptiness. And for many men, that emptiness feels unbearable. You've been living in constant stimulation, emotional highs, adrenaline drama, and now everything feels flat. But that silence isn't punishment, it's purification. It's where you start to rebuild the man you were before you forgot who he was. Reclaiming yourself isn't about erasing her, it's about remembering you. The affair wasn't just about her, it was about what was missing in you when she appeared. The craving for excitement, the hunger to be seen, the ache to feel wanted. She didn't create those needs, she exposed them. Now the work is to meet those needs from within, instead of outsourcing them to chaos. After everything collapses, the mind goes through withdrawal. You replay conversations, scroll through memories, wonder if she's thinking about you. You might even romanticize the pain because it still feels like connection. But here's the truth. Missing her doesn't mean you made a mistake by ending it. It means you're detoxing. You're cleaning out emotional toxins that were disguised as love. That process hurts, but it's also how freedom feels at first. This is the moment the Stoics called anamnesis, the act of remembering who you truly are. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will ever dig." That's what reclaiming yourself requires: digging inward. Ask yourself who you were before the lies, before the hiding, before the guilt. What did you stand for? What brought you peace? What made you proud? Because that man still exists. He's just been buried under someone else's story. It's time to rebuild your integrity piece by piece. Start with honesty. Not the kind you give to others, the kind you give to yourself. Admit what happened. Admit why it happened. Not with shame, but with clarity. You can't forgive what you won't face. Then rebuild your discipline. Get back to the basics: your health, your work, your solitude. Fill your days with action, not rumination. The Stoics believed in logos, reason, as a guide to peace. That means you stop asking, "Why did she do this?" and start asking, "What can I do next?" Every moment spent in regret is a moment stolen from your future. Finally, rebuild your boundaries. Promise yourself that you'll never again accept love that demands secrecy or self-betrayal. The next woman you meet, and there will be one, should meet the man who's whole, not the man who's hiding. Because when you reclaim your integrity, your energy changes. You stop attracting chaos. You start attracting calm. Forgive yourself, not because what happened was right, but because carrying guilt keeps you stuck in the past. True repentance isn't endless self-punishment. It's transformation. It's becoming the man who would never repeat the same mistake. You fell. You got lost. You forgot yourself in someone else's story. But you also learned about desire, weakness, and strength. The fall doesn't define you. The rise does. Reclaiming yourself means no longer chasing what feels good, but choosing what makes you whole. Because peace isn't found in passion, it's found in alignment. And once you have that, no woman, no fantasy, and no past mistake can ever take it from you again. What you've just learned isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. Affairs like this don't start because men are weak. They start because men forget what real strength is. Throughout this video, we've stripped away the illusion, the idea that passion can replace peace, that fantasy can substitute for fulfillment, that secrecy can ever coexist with self-respect. You've seen the truth behind her marriage, the emotional traps, the lies we tell ourselves, and the slow erosion of integrity that follows. But more importantly, you've seen that redemption is possible, that no matter how far you've fallen, you can always rise wiser, calmer, and more grounded in who you are. That's what Stoicism teaches us. Your peace, your discipline, your freedom, they're never lost. They're only waiting for you to reclaim them. If you're ready to take that further, to build lasting emotional strength, and to reconnect with your masculine clarity through Stoic practice, join our private membership. Inside, we go deeper into the tools, habits, and mental frameworks that help men like you rebuild from the inside out. And if you found value here, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because tomorrow we'll be back with another lesson on the psychology of strength, attraction, and self-control. Thank you for watching, for staying till the end, and for doing the work. Most men never will. I'll see you in the next one tomorrow.